Okay, good morning. Today is March 9th, and this is the Assessment Appeals Board number 2. Let's see, will you call to order, Brendan?
All right,
Actually, take roll call.
Board Member Crow.
Present.
Board Member Little.
Present.
Board Member Sisk.
Present.
Thank you.
Everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Everyone that will address the board today will need to be placed under oath. When I complete reading your oath, please state I do. Please raise your right arm. You and each of you do solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the matters now pending before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you. You may now be seated.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Brendan, will you conduct the agenda review?
Yes, the agenda review for March 9th, 2020. The clerk of the board recommends approval of the agenda review by the Assessment Appeals Board. The agenda review consists of the following agenda items. Items 14 through 20, application number 1810792 through 1810798, Origi California LLC, continue to April 27th, 2020, pending receipt of the original stipulations. Item number 21 through 27, application number 19-10345 through 19-10351, applicant Origi California LLC, continued to April 27th, 2020, pending receipt of an original stipulation. Item number 28, application number 10873, applicant Stephen Shea, denied due to lack of appearance. Item number 29, application number application number 1811047, applicant, the Norma Levoy Living Trust, Norma Levoy deceased settler, continue to April 27th, 2020, pending receipt of an original stipulation. Item number 40, application number 1910370, applicant Lorelei Warner Eisner, struggling today. That one is going to be denied due to lack of appearance. Item number 41, application number 1910371, applicant Praxair Distribution Incorporated, removed from the agenda due to the submission of a withdrawal. Item number 42, application number 1910597, applicant Jennifer Darling, denied due to lack of appearance. Item number 43, application number 1910643, applicant Michael Curran, denied due to lack of appearance. Item number 44, application number 1910656, applicant Paula B. Marcraft Trust, denied due to lack of appearance. Item number 45, application number 1910675, applicant Ken Foraker, denied due to lack of appearance. Item number 47, application number 1910711, applicant J. Antonio and Laura E. S. Lopez, denied due to lack of appearance. Item number 48 is on your agenda review, but that applicant is present, so we're going to skip over it. Item number 49, application number 1910729, applicant Lori Frankfort, continue to April 27th, 2020, pending receipt of an original stipulation. Item number 50, application number 1910930, applicant Fred Ben, denied due to lack of appearance. Item number 51, application number 1910939, applicant Janet L. or Paul V. Tertarian, continued to April 27th, 2020, pending receipt of an original stipulation. Item number 52, application number 1910942, applicant Richard Graham, denied due to lack of appearance. Item number 53, application number 1910957, applicant Bamoris Arden, denied due to lack of appearance. Item number 54, application number 1910971, applicant Whitmore Trust, Robert Whitmore trustee, denied due to lack of appearance. Item number 56 and 57, application number 1910991 and 1910992, applicant Shane Sire, denied due to lack of appearance. Item number 58, application number 1911008, Gavin Morosa, denied due to lack of appearance. Item number 59, application number 19-11038, applicant Sarkis Gavorian, denied due to lack of appearance. Item number 60 through 66, application number 19-11067 through 19-11073, applicant LSR Limited Partnership, Laura Whitaker, denied due to lack of appearance. That completes agenda review. I'm not seeing anyone here that, we removed you, sir. You were item 48, correct? Yeah, you're good. So there's been no one checked in this morning that is on this agenda review, so we recommend approval as read.
Okay, looking for a motion to approve?
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Thank you.
All right, please vote. Thank you. That completes the agenda review.
Any comments from the public at this time?
No one has checked in that is not for an item on the agenda, so we are not expecting any public
Excellent.
comments.
Any comments from the board? Okay. That takes us into our regularly scheduled items. What we're going to do is we're going to call you up in order, and we're going to ask if you're ready to move forward, and we're going to see how much time it'll take, and we'll go from there. So application 18-10654, Hampshire Village Properties LTD.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you?
I'm Judy Coralejo. I work for Mr. Lillard, and he's asked me to come and request a postponement.
Okay.
He'd like to postpone to June 29.
Okay. Assessor's office, any comments?
Good morning, Brooke Hill, representing the assessor's office. A continuance is fine. My notes here show that we've only been provided minimal data and that we're still looking for more information from the applicant to be able to work this case. So we would also request a proviso that the data be provided within 30 days of today.
Okay. And is June 29th okay?
We could make that work.
Okay.
To clarify, you want the data 30 days from today or 30 days from the 29th?
30 days from today. And at this time, Joe is Mr. Phillips here is the assigned appraiser. If perhaps the two of you could have a discussion after this so he can clarify what data we're looking for.
Okay.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to postpone to June 29th with the proviso that the data be provided within 30 days of today.
So moved. I will second that motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, please vote. And for the record, a waiver of the 2-year period, which is set to expire, has been signed and submitted by the applicant, so we are okay to reschedule, and that passes.
Okay. Application 18-10762, MKRP 400 National Way.
And item 10, application number 19-10550 is for the same applicant for an additional year,
Okay.
so we recommend handling both
Okay.
together.
Okay, perfect.
Good morning. Richard Hanna with Ryan, representing the applicant. This property is under escrow currently, and I believe the assessor is in agreement that we should continue this until such time that the property closes and we have that recorded document to
Okay.
move forward with.
Okay, assessor's office?
We agree.
Okay. Do we have a date in mind, or?
It's been in escrow, in and out of escrow a few times, so I think it'd be best if it's at least a couple of months to give them, make sure that this is able to
Okay.
close.
Do we have a date in mind, June 29th, or is there a later date?
I would think June 29th at the earliest, just because these things can take time.
Right.
That would probably be the earliest I would suggest. Otherwise, we could wait till October just to make sure that escrow closes.
October is.
October is fine. Do we have a date in October, Brendan?
Yes, and for the benefit of everyone in the audience, I've placed the board's next few hearing dates on the board. We have October 5th available. And remind the board, this is a 2018 case, so it is older, but a waiver of the 2-year period has been submitted. So you should take extra caution when continuing such an old case. But we do have October 5th available if that's what the board wants to do.
Okay, is that? Yeah. Okay. Any data exchange? Well, it'll solve itself, won't it?
I think it's going to solve itself. I guess as soon as the data becomes available,
Yes.
our request is that we get the documents for the sale that
Okay.
is currently pending.
Okay. Looking for a motion to postpone to October 5th with the proviso that the recording information be provided to the assessor's office as soon as it's available.
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And stay up there,
Yep.
actually.
Next one, 19-10550.
Oh, sorry. So the board's motion did cover that as well. We are hearing items 9 and 10 together.
Okay.
But the next few items, also the applicant, so item 11, 12, and
Okay.
13.
Okay, all right. So application 18-10791.
Also related are items 12 and 13.
Okay.
Application number 19-11239 and 19-11238. We recommend you hear all these together.
Okay.
This is a request for approval of large reduction stipulation agreements. These were submitted to the board on Friday for review. They are placed on your agenda because the reductions total over $5 million. And the assessor can answer any questions if you have them.
Okay.
Yes, I
This
received.
concerns the Sears property, is that correct?
In Ventura, that's correct. And it includes both the auto center and the department store.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, I reviewed those.
I did too,
emails.
Yeah.
Move to approve.
I second that motion.
Thank you.
All right, please vote. All right, and then this representative has one last item I recommend we jump to while he's up there, which is item number 31.
Okay, application 18-11243, MSWP, The Palms LLC.
Rich Hanna with Ryan representing the applicant. In this case, I believe the assessor's in agreement with the continuance. They want to tour the property, which we'll set up, and we'll also provide with a little bit more information that they have requested.
Okay. Assessor's office, any comments?
I don't believe we've received any data for this case yet. I believe this is the shopping center, the old outlets in Oxnard. So
Correct.
there is a substantial amount of data, like rent rolls and things like that, that we would be requesting on this.
Okay.
And I also want to clarify that valuation is now the only issue at hand. There was an indication on the application that you had an exemption issue, which I don't believe this board can hear, but I believe that's been resolved. Is that correct?
I'm unaware of that.
Okay.
So I don't.
So on the valuation issue, we would request a proviso that the data be provided within 30 days of today.
Okay. And do we have a date in mind to postpone to?
We should be able to get you the information within 30 days, so I don't know.
So does June 29th work?
I believe that's acceptable, yes.
Okay. Looking for a motion to postpone to June 29th with the proviso that the data be provided within 30 days of today.
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, vote. That passes. All right, takes us back one to item 30.
Okay. We didn't go that much out of order. All right. Application 18-11238, LGP Hillcrest.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Tim Threadgill from Property Tax Resources, representing the applicant. We're requesting to continue this to a
Okay.
later date. Property is currently in escrow, expected to close within the next 30 to 60 days.
Okay.
I would say probably closer to 30.
Okay. Assessor's office?
So like the case before, in this case, we would request that the data for that transfer be provided as soon as it's available, and to allow time for that transfer to take place and close escrow and everything. I think the assessor would prefer October 5th.
Yeah, that day works with us.
Okay. Looking for a motion to postpone to October 5th with the proviso that the recording information be provided to the assessor's office as soon as it's available.
So
All right.
moved.
I will second that motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the record, a waiver of the 2-year period is on file for this case, which was filed in 2018. Please vote. Thank you.
Okay, application 18-11307, Huang Incorporated.
A stipulation was submitted to the board this morning for review and passed around. If your board has had a chance to review, we recommend the stipulation be approved.
I read it. Yep.
Yeah. Move to approve?
Okay,
I'll second that motion.
thank you.
All right, please vote. Thank you.
Okay, application 19-10012, Ventura Oaks Capital LLC.
Good morning, Alan Abrams appearing on behalf of the applicants.
And are you prepared to move forward today?
Sorry, Your
Are
Honor.
you prepared to move forward
Yes.
today? Okay. About how long will your presentation take?
About 15 minutes, I would say, or less. I was informed, though, that the assessor would like to continue it, which is fine with me.
Okay. In the assessor's office?
The assessor is not prepared to move forward today. Mr. Courier was in discussions with the applicant, and they had discussed a stipulation that they were going to check on and never got back to us. We thought they lost interest in this case. So we will need time if they would like to pursue it and are not accepting that stipulation. We would need time to prepare a case.
Okay.
I don't know, did we need data? We have all the data we need.
Okay. So do we have a date to postpone to?
Is this property also listed for sale
Correct.
currently? So I guess that would be the only data we would request, is if it does sell prior to the next scheduled hearing, we would like that information for that sale.
Okay.
As far as a date, I think we can be pretty open on dates, whatever the applicant prefers.
June would be fine.
The June 8th or
29th?
29th?
June 29th is fine, yes.
Yeah, okay. Looking for a motion to postpone to June 29th with the proviso that the recording information be provided to the assessor's office as soon as it's available.
So moved?
I will second that motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next application, 19-10177, Joseph Leckman.
Hi, good morning, Joe Leckman.
Good morning. Are you prepared to move forward today?
Yes,
Okay, about how long will your presentation take?
about 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. Assessor's office?
The assessor is prepared to move forward on the sales tax issue only. It's my understanding that the applicant and assessor agreed on the value. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
It's just whether or not the sales tax needs to be applied?
Yes,
Okay, then the assessor is ready to move forward, and I would anticipate the case would take 10, 15 minutes.
Okay, we're going to go through the rest of the docket, and then we'll hear your case most likely first.
okay.
Real quick to clarify, the appeal includes challenge of the non-filing 10% penalty. Is that in dispute, or have the parties?
I think we're okay presenting that issue as well.
I
How's
was
that?
told last week that that was not being applied any longer.
The penalty is being removed?
I think the board will have to abate the penalty, and the assessor does not contest it.
Got it. Okay. And for the record, the applicant has requested and paid for findings of fact. All right, you're all set. You'll do the first hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next application, 19-10219, Marilyn Cohn.
If you'll come forward to the podium.
Good morning. Can you state your name for the record?
Hello?
Hello, can you state your name for the record?
Marilyn Cohn.
Okay, and are you prepared to move forward today?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and about how long will your presentation take?
I really don't know. I haven't timed it.
Okay,
Uh,
okay. Assessor's office, are you prepared to move forward?
The assessor is prepared to move forward. Our case should take maybe 15 minutes.
Okay. Do you have 6 copies of information for us? Okay, great. We'll go through the rest of the docket, and we'll come back, and we'll probably hear your case second.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Real quick, before when we discussed last week, and I forgot to ask you this morning, you were contemplating requesting the findings of fact. Are you going to be requesting that this morning?
No.
No.
It's online, right? I saw,
You're right. So the findings of fact are a legal document that would describe what happened in today's hearing. Should you choose to challenge the board's decision to Superior Court, and it would cost $150.
But I can go online and also get it?
You can watch the video of this hearing, which is not the same as the findings of fact.
Okay, I don't need the findings.
You don't need the findings of fact? Okay.
Thank you.
The assessor, are you requesting findings of fact on this matter?
No.
Okay. Council findings of fact are not requested.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
You
you.
can have a seat. We'll get back to you. All right. Application 19-10220, Gilbert and Sandra Romero.
I think, and this is for item 36 and 37, I think I may have accidentally caused some confusion with the applicant. They did check in this morning and indicated they're ready to go forward and gave me the payment for findings of fact. When I indicated that their hearing would most likely be third, we discussed how they wouldn't have to stay the whole day, but I think they might have misinterpreted that for being able to leave this part of the hearing early. But the applicant is ready to move forward and is expecting me to call them before we begin their hearing. And I did have eyes on their 6 copies, and they paid for findings of fact. And so I think it's safe to say this one's ready to move forward. And I apologize if I caused them.
That's okay.
Are they close by?
Yes, they're doing other business at the county today.
Okay.
And
Okay.
To the assessor, though, if we want to check in.
The assessor is also prepared to move forward, and it should take about 10 or 15 minutes to present our case.
Okay, great. All right, we'll talk to them when they get back. Next application, 19-10237 and 19-10492, Arnold Friedman.
Two stipulation agreements have been submitted to your board as of this morning and passed around. If you've had a chance to review and agree, the recommended action is to approve the stipulations.
Looking for motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
Please vote. Okay, that passes.
Okay. Item 46, application 19-10697, Kenneth Aslan.
An original stipulation was submitted to your board this morning. If you've had a chance to review, the recommended action is to approve.
Okay.
Yes, received.
Okay, looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
Please vote. Thank you.
Application number 19-10972, Christopher Gankus.
Please come forward to the podium, sir.
Yeah, I'm Mario Forla.
Oh, sorry. I got confused. I got these.
That's
Okay.
48.
Sorry, I forgot we skipped over. So you called 55.
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
55?
48 is present.
If we,
Oh, I had it crossed out. What did I do?
sorry, we removed that from the agenda review. Sorry for causing confusion.
Okay,
So,
so 48?
yes,
Okay.
I was not listening to you, Mr. Chair, and I called number 48 up when you called 55.
Number 55, that's my bad. I skipped ahead. I have it crossed out for some reason, okay. Application 19-10715, Mario Ferla.
Yeah.
Hi. Are you prepared to move forward today?
Well, I was told that, well, I am, but I was told that the assessor has not received any documentation.
Okay.
I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, Assessor's Office?
Because there was no confirmation of appearance on this, the assessor did not prepare a case. So we will need a continuance and would ask that the applicant perhaps have a discussion with Mr. Heim here after the hearing is continued, so they can see about moving forward on how we want to deal with this.
Maybe it's clear to you what you said. I don't know what you said. What do you want me to do?
Well, we need a continuance.
Okay.
And I would like you to talk to Mr. Heim
So
to see if you can come to an agreement.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a date in mind for continuance?
Sir, do you have so we have several dates available up on
Oh,
the screen. Do you
sorry.
have a preference
sorry,
of
sorry,
what
sorry.
you would like?
Sorry.
No problem.
Sure. Let's do April 27 would be fine.
That's fine with the assessor.
Is that okay?
Okay, well, looking for a motion to postpone till April 27th with the proviso that the data be provided to the Assessor's Office within 30 days of today?
Perfect.
So now I need to see this guy, whoever.
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. All right, here we go. 19-10972, Christopher Gankus.
Good morning.
Good morning. Are you prepared to move forward today?
Negative.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I didn't properly inform early enough, so I'm here just to ask for a continuance.
Okay. Assessor's Office?
The assessor is not prepared to move forward because there was no confirmation of appearance. And I'm trying to look up to see who this is
It's a
assigned to, but we will need a continuance.
It's a boat. Brooke, it's a boat.
Oh, it's a boat. It must be Mr. McCants back here then. Thank you. Okay. Sounds like you've already talked to him. And whatever date the applicant would like.
Do you have a preference on the dates we have available on the screen?
27th will work.
Is that okay with the assessor?
That's fine, as long as we can get any requested data within 30 days of today.
No worries.
Okay, is there still data that needs to be provided? Or is that being?
Filling out a form right
You
now.
working, okay, we'll still put it in there. Okay. Looking for a motion to postpone to April 27th with the proviso that data be provided to the assessor's office within 30 days of today.
So moved.
I will second that motion.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Please vote.
Application 19-10556, Jeremy Potter.
This is a stipulation that's been on file for over the 30 days, allowed for the applicant to submit the original signature. And so the item has been submitted to your board for approval of the copy signature. Assessor, can you verify 3 attempts were made over the past 30 days to obtain the original?
This was in the email you sent me a week or two ago.
Yes, it was on the draft agenda, and I'm not sure what other times we may have discussed it.
Then, yes, all of the ones that were in that email you sent me very recently have been requested a minimum of 3 times.
All right, recommend action is the board approve.
Okay, looking for motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Okay, application 19-10611, Nabil Sharantelli.
Same situation. This is a request to approve a non-original stipulation. This one's been on file for 38 days. As the assessor just stated, they've made the required 3 attempts to obtain the originals on both of these items today.
Okay, looking for motion to approve.
Is that a problem if they don't sign the original?
I believe the assessor has to do a lot of work to get the originals. People want to email them, but the current policy passed down by the Board of Supervisors is that your board has to have an original signature unless the assessor's office makes 3 attempts within 30 days to obtain the originals. So until the policy is revised, that is how it is. The copy is generally sufficient to approve a reduction, and they look almost original. Everyone's emailing them these days, so it's a problem that we get around by having this agenda item.
Okay.
Move to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
Last, item 69, we do had some people that showed up for these items, so I recommend you go ahead and address item 69 now. These are the board's regular stipulations. These were all emailed to your board last Thursday. Or, sorry, not last Thursday, I was behind. Last Friday. And recommended action is to approve.
Well, looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a question on a lot of these boat appeals there, like one is on your roll for 17,000 and the estimated value is 2,000. How come they don't just enroll the lower value to begin with?
So that's a really good question. In the past 2 years, I believe, there was a large discovery of boats at on Westlake and in other areas that had never been assessed before. So they made an attempt to get information. Many taxpayers didn't, or boat owners didn't respond to our request. So they had to make an estimate based on the information we had. Once these boat owners are getting back to us, they're able to show us that our boat is actually quite old, it's not working, or whatever the situation is. And then once we have that information, now we know that the boat is not worth as much as we originally assessed, because the first assessment was based on solely the fact that there was a boat there. And we often didn't have any details, but we are obligated to assess them. So that's kind of why you're seeing so many boat stipulations that are going below that low value ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Move to approve.
I will second that motion.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you. All stipulations have been approved, if anyone was here waiting for that still. And that completes our agenda.
Okay, so back to our first case.
Yes, so that would be 34. So moving forward today, we have 34, 35, 36, and 37, all right next to each other on the agenda.
Excellent.
Starting with 34.
All right.
Great. Sir, if you'd like to take a seat, I'll get you set up over here. Go ahead up to the corner. So I'm comfortable in the middle or the edge, and it's easiest to see everybody's faces. So just instruction on the microphone. If your green light is off, we can't hear you, push that. We'll be able to hear you. We're going to leave you on for now, but if for any reason you want to turn it off, we can go ahead and do so. And we'll start the case right now. We'll go determine. Okay. And let me hand out copies of the application. To the assessor, this is an aircraft, so the applicant has the
Already
burden.
agreed on the value.
Correct? Okay. To the board, did you want the applicant to just get into their case at this point?
Could we have an overview?
So the applicant originally applied for a value, a penalty, and a sales tax. We've come to agreement on the value, and we determined that there was a clerical error as to which code sections should apply to the penalty, and it was applied in error, so we ask your board to abate the penalty to the applicant. And so the only remaining issue is whether sales tax should be used in the value of the aircraft.
Sales tax, okay. And then, so who has the burden of proof? The applicant? Okay. All right, so you have the burden of proof, so you'll get to present your side first. Then they'll go second, and then they'll do closing arguments first, and you'll do your closing arguments last. So whenever you're ready.
I'm ready. So I'm Joe Leckman. I'm the owner of the aircraft. It's a 1982 Cessna. I bought it in Europe for 135,000 euros. There was no sales tax because it was bought in Europe. I flew it home. There's no use taxes on it either because it's used in interstate business. So I paid 135,000 euros, which translates to about 155,000 US dollars. So the question is, what is the value for assessment purposes? So I look at Revenue and Taxation Code 5362 that says the assessor of the county in which the aircraft is habitually situated shall assess the aircraft at its market value. And then Revenue and Taxation Code Section 110 defines fair market value to be the amount of cash or its equivalent that property would bring if exposed for sale in the open market. And this was an open market sale. It was listed with a European aircraft broker for many, many months. I think it had been listed at least 6 months by the time I bought it, and I bought it for 135,000 euros, which is the open market price, and I believe that it should be assessed at that value. The assessor wants to add to that value either sales or use taxes, neither of which apply to this aircraft and don't add to the value. And when you look at Revenue and Taxation Code Section 110, it doesn't authorize the addition to the assessed value of any storage, use, or consumption taxes. It only looks at what would the aircraft or what would the property bring if exposed to the market. And it was exposed to the market, and it brought 155,000 US dollars, and I believe that is the assessed value. If the assessor wants to be able to add use or storage or other fees to the assessed value, the statute needs to be amended to include it, and so far it hasn't. So we need to look at 110, which only looks at what was the sales price, and that's 155,000, and I believe that's the assessed value. And that's it.
Okay. Assessor's Office, any questions of the applicant?
No, he was very clear.
Okay.
My name is Jesse Metcalf. I'm with the Assessor's Office. And
You said no questions, right?
no questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions?
Are you willing to accept the 224,000 as a sale price?
No, that was what they assessed it at. The sales price was 135,000 euros, which was 155,000 US. That was the sales price.
Yeah, my understanding though is that you were willing to accept the assessed value on it. Is that correct?
No, when I talked with the assessor, they were willing to reduce it to the actual sales price I paid. So they were going to reduce it from 220 to 155,000. The only issue is they want to add to that assessed value the sales tax, which wasn't due, and the use and tax, which also wasn't due. They want to add to that. That's the only thing that's at issue.
I see. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Good morning, Jesse Metcalf, Ventura County Assessor's Office. The issue that's before you is one that comes up quite often, and it's understandable because of it's new concept to most people who engage in this transaction. I agree that he did not pay sales tax in compliance with existing sales and use tax.
Wait till we all get our stuff in front of us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, are we all ready? Okay, we're ready for you to proceed.
Okay. So his statements were generally correct that he had an open market transaction. He paid the fair market value as defined by by R&T Code Section 110. What the issue is a trade level adjustment. So he recited R10, 110, which was very correct, but pursuant to Property Tax Rule 10, taxable property shall be valued at the amount of cash or its equivalent which property would transfer to a consumer of like property at the same trade level if exposed to sale at the open market. The cost shall include costs typically incurred in bringing the property to a finished state, including sales or use tax. Full economic cost includes the cost typically incurred, including sales or use tax. And if it was a house or something, it'd be entrepreneurial services such as appropriate allowances for trade, quantity, and cash discounts. The Assessor's Handbook, age 577, General Aircraft, Chapter 3, page 15, and it's an attachment to your package, states that the general rule in determining market values where price is the basis of value, sales or use tax, freight, and installation costs are elements of value that should be included in the estimate of market value. The statement is based on and supported by Xerox Corporation versus Orange County in 1977. And the full text in age 47 in the little handout that's highlighted in yellow says that in the first paragraph at the bottom, highlighted in yellow, the general rule in determining market value is that where price is the basis of value, and we've accepted as sales price, sales or use tax, freight, and installation are are elements of the value that should be included as an estimate of market value. So this is an adjustment that's made for all types of personal property. It's made for business personal property, it's made for boats, and it's made for aircraft. It's not really, we're not assessing them sales or use tax. It's a component of the cost at the consumer level. So everybody in the general market, with the exception of those that are legally excluded for sales and use tax. So for example, if the gentleman bought his out of state and then used it in conjunction with business activities in the first months of operation, I believe it's more than 50% in the first 6 months. So that legally allowed him to avoid the payment of sales or use tax to the Franchise Tax Board. But for assessment purposes at the consumer level, the general population is going to need to pay sales tax. So to equalize him with other members of that trade level, we add a component that was equivalent to what sales or use tax would have been had it been paid. So we're not suggesting that he owes sales or use tax, but for the consumer trade level, we add that component for evaluation to equalize him among all members of that class.
Okay, does that conclude your presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions of the assessor's presentation?
No questions, just sort of a counter argument to it.
Okay, well, you'll have time for that later, yeah. Any questions from the board?
No, other than once again, who would be exempt from paying this?
There's, for equalization purposes on the assessor, no one.
No.
We would assess business personal property that transfers without sales or use tax with a component equivalent to what sales or use tax would have been. We assess boats. For example, a boat can legally be purchased without paying sales or use tax if the transaction occurs more than 3 miles offshore, is taken to another country such as Mexico for a year, and then brought back into the state to, say, home port in Channel Islands Harbor. They would not be under an obligation to pay Franchise Tax Board. But for equalization purpose, for our assessment role at the consumer trade level, we would impute an amount equivalent to what sales tax would have been at the assessment date.
Okay, so it's just an equalizer. Switching back to an example of a real estate transaction, if somebody used a broker and paid a commission versus somebody that bought it from a relative, there would be an equalization that would apply there.
Not my area of specialty, but I would presume it would be somewhat like that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I don't have any questions. Okay, so now it would be time, I guess, for you guys to make your closing arguments.
Well, our arguments is that we're required to comply with the Revenue and Taxation Code, and so the assessor administers that promulgated by the Board of Equalization. The legislature sets Revenue and Taxation 110. They clarify it with Rule 10. The handbook H 577 gives the assessor direction, and it requires that we do that. It happens at all classes. We get a regular amount of business aircraft, some of them of quite high value, and that are used for business and are properly excluded from sales or use tax. And again, it's a very substantial amount, but because of the Franchise Tax Board rules, they don't pay that out of pocket. But for equalization purposes, we must add a component equivalent to what that would have been had it been paid, so that everybody at the same trade level is treated fairly and consistently. That's my argument.
Okay, thank you. All right, it is your time to state your closing argument.
This is all about Revenue and Taxation Code Section 110, which provides a statutory construction and definition of full cash value or fair market value. And it looks to what was paid between the buyer and the seller. If there are extra use fees or consumption fees or storage fees or taxes that are paid to a governmental entity, the legislature didn't choose to include those in their definition. And the reality is, those taxes and fees for using or consuming it don't add value. Those are expenses, those are costs. When I go to sell the aircraft, I can't recover those fees. They don't add value. In Europe, actually, they have a value-added tax, Once that's paid, future people don't pay it again. So you could possibly add a value-added tax in Europe. But here, a sales tax is an expense, it's paid, and it doesn't add to the value. And this isn't a tax that was ever applicable for my transaction. They want to tax me on a theoretical tax that never applied to this. There was no sales tax due, there was no use tax due, and Cessna 340s are often, they're really business aircraft. Very few people pay sales or use taxes because they're used in business, and business aircraft and interstate business are exempt. So to tax me on a tax that was never due and payable and not authorized by the statutory definition of fair market value is an error. I should be assessed at my purchase price of $155,000.
Okay, we have any questions or comments?
No.
Nope, okay. We will, we'll consider this behind closed doors. We'll have our decision later today. And we'll inform Brandon of our decision, and he will let you inform both of you of our decision. Okay.
Thank you.
Do we want to hear the next one now? And then we might have a break to go in back and talk about these first two before our 11:30 shows up. Sound good?
Yeah, if that's what your board wants to do, then while you're having deliberations, I can let the last case show up.
Yeah, does that sound good?
All right, can we take a brief 5-minute
Yes.
recess while we transition?
Yep.
All right.
Okay, welcome back. We are hearing application 19-10219 with Marilyn Cohn. Who has the burden of proof? This is an owner-occupied single family?
The applicant is challenging a purchase price assessment where the assessor accepted the purchase price. So the applicant does have the burden of proof when challenging
Okay.
their own purchase price.
Okay.
And applicant's exhibit 1 has been handed out. I don't know if you want any additional information from the assessor before.
I think this seems pretty straightforward. We can just,
Yeah, it's an owner-occupied residence transferred August 31st of 2018, and you're deciding the value for that date.
okay. All right, Ms. Cohn, whenever you're ready, you can proceed. I guess we don't need to, okay.
Thank you. So I bought this house having never lived in Ventura before. I was living in San Diego. When I actually purchased this house, I was living in a very small apartment, and my lease was up and I needed to move. This was not my first choice of a house. I had seen it briefly, but honestly, I didn't know that I would be buying it. The other houses that I wanted fell through. So it was kind of a last-minute decision since I needed to move, so I bought a little bit under duress. And there were things about it that I didn't know. Had I known, I definitely wouldn't have bought it. I really believe, I had studied the comps before I purchased this house and thought that it was pretty high based on the comps I had seen. But like I said, I needed a home, and so I went ahead and bought it. And then after moving in and finding, things that were wrong with it, really felt like it was really way overpriced. And as you can see on the summary of the closed listings, I bought it at $595, which is very, very high compared to all the other. There are 9 properties that I listed here. All of them are approximately the same age, and most of them are approximately the same square foot. There are a couple that are larger square feet. In fact, one of them, the only other one here that sold for the same price of $595 is actually 148 square feet larger. That's the one on Cardigan Avenue. So, not Cardigan Avenue, sorry, on Gardner Avenue was 1,578 square feet. So I also took the average square feet. You can see at the bottom of the summary, the average was 1430 times 383.89, comes to 548,962.70, which I think is a fair price for my house to have been assessed for, being that's the average price. And so I also, one of the reasons why I wanted a house was not just for a place for myself to live, but I all along had planned on renting out part of the house. So, because it was a 4-bedroom house and I had plenty of room to rent, but I needed the second bathroom for a renter to be able to use. And the bathroom was totally unusable because both the bathtub and the shower were completely blocked. The water was not draining, and the sink also was not draining. And I had 5 different plumbers come before anybody was able to even fix it. So I wasn't able to rent it out for 8 months, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. All those months I was dealing with 5 different plumbers. The several plumbers just, tried to go directly from the bathtub, go down, and they couldn't find, they said the P-trap was stuck, they couldn't do anything about it. I was almost giving up. The fourth plumber actually came with hydrojetting and said that hydrojetting was a better way to do it. He went through my kitchen cabinet, because the bathroom was aside from the kitchen. He went under there and tried to hydrojet it, still couldn't get it blocked, but told me my whole house needed to be hydrojetted and wanted to charge me $5,000 because he said all the pipes were old and everything. So I was getting really frustrated, thinking that I'd never be able to rent out my property. Already had missed $6,000 of income in those 8 months. Finally, I found a plumber who was able to fix it in April, and I was able to start renting it in May. And it was independent plumbing. He was able to fix it because he found out it needed to go at a 90-degree angle, which none of the other plumbers even had. I guess they didn't know anything about 90-degree angles for stuck-up showers. But also the sink was also plugged up, and even just recently, I have also just recently had to have the sink in that bathroom unplugged again. It was in October, I believe. Yeah, October 29th. The bathroom was also, it was while I was away, actually. And my renter, I was actually in Kenya, and my renter complained that it was stuck up, so it had to be fixed while I was away. And also, so when I moved in addition to that, the thermostat was not working. When I first moved in, it was very hot. It was the end of August. I tried to put the air conditioning on, and the furnace would go on. It was really frustrating. It was a digital thermostat, and I tried to find several people to come fix it, and nobody knew how to fix a digital thermostat. So I finally decided just to replace it with an ordinary thermostat instead of the fancy one that was there, just so that I could have normal air conditioning and heat, because it was all mixed up. The whole thermostat was mixed up. And then right after I moved in, every time I would come over to the stove, I would notice a horrible smell. And I didn't know what it was, but I was suspecting that it was gas, that there was a gas leak, that even though I had a inspection, but I wasn't there during the inspection. I was in San Diego. I had come for another house, an inspection, and it's a long drive, and I wasn't able to come for this one. So anyway, after smelling that for several days, I decided to call the gas company, and sure enough, there was a gas leak in my stove. And so they had to turn off the stove, and I was without use of a stove for a while. And then it was very difficult to find a stove to replace it because it was a built-in stove. It was an Italian stove, actually, and very few people even sold that kind of stove. I mean, I couldn't put any other kind of stove because I would have had to tear up the whole counter space. It was the only stove of all the other brands, none of them fit in that space, so which made it really difficult to replace. But there was only one place that sold it, and so we had to finally use that same stove, and that was about a month process before I even had a stove. In addition, I had several problems with leaking in my garage, and the garage, I had several different workers come. I don't have the receipts for all of the things that I did. I only gave you some of them. I wasn't able to find receipts for everything. But there's still a lot more work in the house that needs to be done. I didn't have everything repaired. But I did show you a picture of what the garage looks like. The black paper that's supposed to be there is all missing. And that was causing a lot of moisture to come into the house, and I had somebody come over, and it's very, very labor intensive. So it will cost about $5,000 just to replace all of that paper, because it's, people here charge about $85 an hour, and so it's very, very expensive. But my garage was leaking. All the garage door that was on there. I'm sorry I don't have a picture of it because it was recently replaced, but the garage door was all warped and water kept coming in through the back door of the garage. It was so warped that water was coming in constantly through there. And I thought it was just from the inspection, I thought it was just that the cement wasn't even outside, and I tried to fix the cement when I first moved in. I did fix it. But that wasn't really the problem. The whole door needed to be replaced. So there's a receipt here from Moat Construction. He replaced the door for $1,200. But there's still some leaks, even though it was replaced, because of the whole garage is in very poor condition. The sides of the garage, there's some cement that's not completely sealed. So water is coming in through there. In addition, the hot water heater in the garage is very corroded and will need to be replaced soon. So that's about $2,500, I believe, to replace the hot water heater. Money which I don't have. Let's see. Also, when I moved in, there were no blinds, which I was not aware of. I just assumed that a house would come with blinds or curtains because every other house, this is the third house I've owned, all the houses I've owned always came with some kind of curtains, blinds. It made it very difficult for me to sleep, even because there was no blinds in my bedroom, so I had to get temporary ones when I first moved in. And I was not aware of that, and I did spend about $1,000 for the 3 bedrooms, for all the bedrooms, because there were no blinds in any of the bedrooms. Yeah, basically, with the repairs that are needed, and I went through incredible amount of stress also, because like I said, I moved into a situation I didn't know was so bad, and I couldn't rent it out, and so I actually, after all that stress, I actually had to leave for a little while just to recoup. But anyway, I'm believing that the property should have been assessed at the price that I wrote here. and that's even without the repairs. But the repairs are probably going to be another $15,000. So that's
Okay.
about all.
Does that wrap up your presentation? Is that wrap up your presentation?
I think so.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the assessor's office?
Caleb Heim for the assessor. Just a few questions. With regard to the water heater, was that in your inspection at all?
The water heater?
Yeah.
Like I said, I wasn't at the inspection.
Right. I guess my question is, was any mention of that made in your inspection report?
I don't remember it being, no.
Okay. And then just a couple of other questions. So the house was listed, is that right?
Yes,
And you bought it through a broker?
yes.
And you were looking for some period of time? Like a,
Yes.
yeah, an amount of time. I think that's it. No further questions from the assessor?
Okay, any questions from the board?
You did have a home inspector go through the home before you bought it?
Yes, but I was not present, only my Realtor was present.
Okay.
But he,
I don't believe he did a very thorough job. He didn't even find the gas leak in the stove. I really don't believe he did a thorough job at all. He didn't tell me about some of these problems. He didn't tell me about the garage. You know, he had inspected another house and told me it wasn't good to buy. You know, the roof was too old, and so that's why I didn't get my first choice. And but he didn't tell me some of the problems with his house.
Okay, and did he mention the plumbing? First of all, did they give you a report, like a binder with the results of the home inspection? A large report?
I got a report online, yeah.
Okay,
He did tell me there was a slow, he told me there was a slow draining in the bathtub. He
Okay.
just said it was slow. But, I mean, I thought it would be a simple, you bring a plumber, and then, actually, they tried to bring a plumber even before I moved in. And then I thought that would be it, they would be taken care of. And when I moved in and I found out it was still stuck up, I called the same plumber back and said, hey, you were supposed to fix this, what happened? And he said, well, we can't fix it, it's touching the P-trap, and, you're gonna have to get a whole new P-trap. I mean, it was, it was like gonna be like $3,000. And like I said, I had so many plumbers, nobody could fix it for a long time, for 8 months.
okay.
and what was the original year built of the house?
1964.
An original roof, or had the roof been,
I'm not really sure.
because you
I
mentioned,
think the roof probably wasn't original, but it had about, because it had about 10 years life on it when I bought it.
okay, because you mentioned the garage was leaking?
Yeah, not from the roof.
Oh, okay.
From the back door that was very corroded and old. And also the cement, there's a walkway behind the garage, and the cement was not even. So water was coming in because of that, and because the whole garage was made out of wood, it was not like most people have metal garages doors, which I replaced it with a metal one. So that it was all corroded, so water was coming in there, and yeah.
And the list price on your house, when it was on the market, was $609,900.
Right.
Okay.
And then, well, the owner was also a broker. He was an owner broker, and he really didn't want to budge at all, which is why, at first I wasn't even going to buy. When I saw the price of it, I wasn't really going to buy it at all. And my Realtor was very aggressive, and she was talking to him a lot, and I felt all like she was on his side more than mine. I really didn't feel like she was representing me as well as she should have. She just wanted the sale. And she told me that, he's willing to go down to 595. Originally, he said he's not budging at all from 609. But I thought it was overpriced. And so, like I said, I don't feel it was a fair price to be assessed at.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Time for your presentation. Whenever you're ready.
Again, Caleb Heim with the Assessor's Office. The appeal today, I think, has two major issues. One, whether this transaction was an open market transaction conforming to Revenue and Taxation Code Section 110 and Property Tax Rule 2, and whether the presumption that the purchase price is fair market value established by those two statutes is overcome in this case. And taking the first issue of whether this transaction is an open market transaction, Revenue and Taxation Code Section 110 and Property Tax Rule 2 establish 4 criteria for whether a transaction is an open market transaction, and those are listed on page 1 and 2 of the assessor's presentation of Exhibit A. And those criteria are exposure on the open market for a reasonable amount of time, negotiated at arm's length by parties seeking to maximize their gains, the characteristic that neither the buyer nor the seller are able to take advantage of the exigencies of the other, and for the knowledge of the uses to which the property may be put. And that point in particular requires a little bit of clarification, and that just means what is this property zoned for essentially? And this property is a single-family residence, and there's no particular ambiguity about that. The assessor's opinion is that the August 31st, 2018 purchase of the subject meets all 4 criteria, and that therefore the purchase price is presumed to be fair market value. And then we move to the second issue, whether the presumption that the purchase price is fair market value is overcome. And to overcome that presumption, there would need to be shown a significant deviation of the fair market value from the purchase price, and a significant deviation is more than 5% of the purchase price. So the assessor conducted an appraisal to see if that presumption was overcome, with the conclusion that it was not. The assessor's appraisal utilizes 4 comparables, 2 which were also provided by the applicant and 2 which were in the applicant's appraisal for her loan for this purchase. All 4 are model matches in the subject's neighborhood, other than one which is a model match but has had a small addition of 77 square feet. The applicant mentioned a number of condition issues, and these were taken into account from the applicant's provided costs. And the applicant did not have cost numbers for all of the condition issues that she found, so the assessor made a larger adjustment than there were documented costs for, just to be conservative, to incorporate all those. And further on the condition issues, the assessor's opinion is that the condition issues are typical repairs for deferred maintenance that one would find in a 1964 house. And additionally, nothing in those repairs has anything to do with showing that the purchase price is not fair market value. None of that overcomes the presumption that the purchase price is fair market value. So the assessor's opinion is that as of August 31st, 2018, the value in exchange of $595,000 is the fair market value based on the satisfaction of the conditions in Revenue and Taxation Code 110 and Property Tax Rule 2, and that the assessor asked the Assessment Appeals Board to sustain the factored base year value of $595,000 as the January 1st, 2019 value.
Okay. Any questions of the assessor's office presentation?
I actually had a very difficult time understanding him. I didn't know what were you talking about, overcome? I didn't understand what you said.
So when a property sells in an open market transaction, it's that purchase price is presumed to be fair market value, and it would need to be shown by a preponderance of evidence that is comparable sales and an appraisal such as the one we did, that the fair market value is different from the purchase price by more than 5% of the purchase price. And that is not what the data show. So the presumption that the purchase price is fair market value is not overcome. And that's why we enrolled your purchase price as fair market value as of your purchase date.
Okay, any questions of the board?
Yes, quick question on your comp number 1 on Winford. You have the sales price of $608 on 7/11/2018. And on the applicant's handout number 1, she's got the same comp that shows a sold date of 6/11/2018 for $491,000. Was that a flip or something?
It did look to be, to some extent, a flip. The condition of that comparable in June was not able to be determined by the assessor, as it did not have any information about that in its listing. When we looked at the July sale of that comparable, it did look like it had been fixed up, and compared to the subject, it looked to be in much the same condition in that sale as the subject. So the assessor's opinion is that the June sale was in significantly worse condition than that, or we inferred that it was.
Do you have any information on the prior sale?
No.
The June?
Only that it was listed as well.
Did you mention it in the report? In your report, did you mention that one of them has a prior sale?
On page 17 of my report, I mention the comparables that I did not use.
Okay.
And
But anywhere did you mention the June sale for Comp 1?
I did not mention that.
You did not mention that?
That is mentioned in the appraisal for the applicant's loan, which was also used in the same capacity as mine.
Okay.
Back, talking about, this potential flip, do you have any evidence to show that it was completely remodeled and then resold at a higher price, or you have any historical background to that particular property? Did the PCOR show that in the prior sale that it was in poor condition or anything?
The one listing photo for that sale was an exterior photo and looked in substantially worse condition than the applicant's property at the time of the applicant's sale. But comparing the July sale with the applicant's sale, they look to be in much the same condition.
The same. Interesting. Okay.
Wouldn't you think that if these improvements on Comp 1 are a month old, it would be in superior condition to that of the subject or the applicant's house?
I think that that would be fine. I think that's taken into consideration in the adjustment that we made.
The $10,000 adjustment?
I do, and in addition, that sale is higher priced and establishes the
So-
high end of the range, perhaps above the subject's sales price.
So they paid $489 for it, and they sold it for $608, so that's a profit of $109,000, and you make a $10,000 adjustment? It seems like they might have spent more than $10,000 improving the property if they earned $109,000 in profits.
So the prior transaction was in poor condition per the PCOR.
Okay. Okay. USPAP requires that we disclose any prior sales to subjects and analyze the transaction.
The assessor is not bound by USPAP. The assessor is bound by the Revenue and Taxation Code. So we don't have that same requirement to disclose the prior transaction, although your point is taken. I am looking up the PCOR right now for that prior transaction, and I can see that it was in poor condition, which goes along with Mr. Heim's comments here today that we did infer that it was in poor condition. I can see that we received this late, and so perhaps those notes weren't in for that transfer, but I do see now that the first transfer of that property was in poor condition. The next one, they checked average, but as Mr. Heim testified, the second transaction looked like the photos that he saw were much more similar to the subject property.
Right, but those improvements were less than a month old. They would certainly be superior condition to that of the subject, because the subject had a remodel, I'm not sure how long ago.
Well, if you turn to the photos for the subject property, you can see that it has also been recently remodeled.
I'm assuming that the photos you inspected on your comp number 1, that was probably from the MLS listing sheet?
That's correct.
Okay.
To mention as well, the photos from the site inspection that I did of the subject substantially matched those of the MLS listing for that for the August sale, if that's helpful.
Okay. And then your comp number 2, had that one been remodeled? Any information on that one?
I didn't see any particular information or to back up, that one was in substantially the same condition as the subject as well. Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Okay. And comp number 3, you mentioned it had a small addition to it? Had that been updated and remodeled?
It did not look, it all looked to be in the same condition as the subject as well.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And then comp 4 sold fairly low at 530, and you have the same $10,000 adjustment in there. Would you think that the sale at 530 and 608 would be similar enough condition, given they're the same size, that only a $10,000 adjustment compensates for the difference in the two?
I wasn't sure why that one sold for so much lower. I don't think it was the condition, only because there wasn't a substantial difference between the two. I included that one as well and made the same adjustment because we were adjusting, number one, for the difference between the subject and the comparables, and the range is perhaps fairly high in that neighborhood.
Okay, and then I see there's across the board adjustments. You have a $10,000 adjustment on every single comp.
And the reason for that is mostly because the comparables were in approximately the same condition. They were about the same, I thought, as the subject. And the repairs to the subject are, in our opinion, typical. And so we made a small adjustment to take account for whatever there might be. But our opinion is not that that the subject is in substantially worse and demonstrably worse condition than the comparables. We're just saying if there is some amount of deferred maintenance there that isn't present in the comparables, we made this adjustment to take account of that.
Okay. Typically, in the appraisal process, it's best to find a comparable that doesn't need an across-the-board adjustment. You know, something similar condition, because all of your comps are superior, you're saying, but yet one of them sold,
Can I clarify?
you know, $70,000 below the subject. So I'm just.
Just to clarify, the adjustment is just there if they are in fact superior. It's not our opinion that they definitely are. It's our opinion that the applicant provided a number of repairs that she had done, and we wanted to take account of that.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
I have none.
Okay, I'm fine. So now it's opportunity for, I guess, you guys to present your closing arguments?
Once again, I think the assessor's opinion is simply that the sales price does reflect fair market value. The applicant had the opportunity to inspect the property herself, to see what problems it might have had. The sales price was negotiated down from a higher sales price of about $610,609, $900,000 to $595,000. The applicant purchased what she purchased at the price that she purchased it at. And the assessor sees no reason that the purchase price is not fair market value.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Cohn, it's your opportunity to make your closing statements.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I disagree that my house was completely remodeled. It may have been remodeled somewhat, but I know that the people that I bought it from had been personally living there for at least 20 years, and they were using it as their family home. The sinks are old, even though they're somewhat modern, but you can tell by, I mean, it wasn't like it was like a brand-new remodel that I moved into. It may have been remodeled. The kitchen was definitely remodeled, but not right before I moved in. Maybe several years before I moved in. Not from 1964, but, you know. And like I said, doing my research on all the comps I did, I don't believe that this was a fair market value price for this house, because most of the ones in the neighborhood are selling for much less. And also, in addition to that, like I said, I was unable to rent out my house because of the conditions that were in it. And eventually, I would want to rent it out, the entire house also. So it would need much more improvement before I'd be able to do that. And that's about all.
That's it, okay. Well, thank you. We're going to deliberate this behind closed doors, and we'll have an answer for Brandon a little bit later. So I think that's it. You're all set to go. Thank you. And we'll adjourn here in a few minutes, and we'll come back at whenever the.
You want to do the last hearing at 11:30 and try to finish up and do like lunch at 12:30, or you want to?
Let's if they're going to be here at 11:30, let's see if we can go back and deliberate on one of these before 11:30.
All right, and we'll return at 11:30.
Yeah, unless we're like 2 minutes from being done with the second one. We'll tell you we want 5 more minutes.
Right. Okay, but in general, 11:30.
Yeah. 11:30ish. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We're off the record. Okay, welcome back. We are here to hear our third case. Do we have, who has the burden of proof on this one? Is this,
The assessor has indicated to the clerk of the board that they are accepting the burden of proof. It is a challenge of new construction for value added November 8th, 2018. So the assessor's accepted the burden in this, and I've handed out Assessor's Exhibit A.
okay, perfect. All right, assessors, whenever you are ready.
Hello, Joe Phillips with the Assessor's Office. Today we are appealing the applicant is appealing the supplemental appeal as a result of new construction of a 5,506 square foot single-family residence. And they are also appealing the decline in value as of January 1st, 2019. The new construction was completed as of November 1st, 2018. So I'll just start on page 1 of my presentation, and I'll go into some of the history and then also how we valued the property. So first, the vacant land was originally purchased on October 21st, 2014 for $485,000. This value was enrolled as fair market value and established the base value of the land for the property. Building permit C16-246 was issued on September 26, 2016 for a new 5,506 square foot single family residence. The final inspection was approved by the Ventura County Building and Safety on November 6, 2018. And the assessor used the 2019 Los Angeles Residential Cost Manual as well as the Marshall and Swift Guide in order to determine a fair market value of the new construction to be $1,121,000 as of the completion date, November 8th, 2018. I'm sorry, that should say November 1st, 2018, I believe. I have some conflicting dates there. After the new construction was completed, the Assessor's Valuation Division contacted the applicant on May 14th, 2019 to request a site inspection of the newly completed residence, but we were denied. After the appeals were filed, the Assessor's Appeals Division requested a site inspection, but we were also denied. Therefore, the assessor relied on permit information, the plans that we had received, and also a drive-by photo of the exterior in order to help us determine the value of the new construction. And because we weren't able to visit, we did have to make quite a few assumptions regarding the quality of construction and aspects of it that we were unable to see. The plans only give us so much information about the property. Revenue and Taxation Code Section 71 states, the assessor shall determine the new base year value for the portion of any taxable real property which has been newly constructed. The base year value of the remainder of the property assessed, which did not undergo new construction, shall not be changed. New construction in progress on the lien date shall be appraised at its full value on that date and each lien date thereafter until the date of completion, at which time the entire portion of property which is newly constructed shall be reappraised at its full value, and that value shall be the base year value. New construction in progress shall not acquire a base year value on each lien date. So this is kind of one of the governing codes for how we are to assess new construction. So according to Property Tax Rule 2A, the term full value that's mentioned in Section 71 is equivalent to fair market value. Property Tax Rule 6A describes how the cost approach is appropriate for construction work in progress and for other property that has experienced relatively little physical deterioration. Property Tax Rule 6B also describes how the assessor must use typical costs incurred in bringing the property to a finished state. And I have included Property Tax Rule 2 and Property Tax Rule 6 at the very end of my packet here for reference. So those are our main guidelines for how we are to assess new construction. So the applicant provided the assessor with documentation related to the costs that they use. The assessor reviewed the information provided and determined that some documentation was missing, such as general contractor costs, finished floors, built-in appliances and equipment, built-in cabinets, and interior trim and finish. The applicant informed me that they acted as their own general contractor and that the appliances were previously owned and moved from their previous residence. The applicant said that they would provide flooring and built-in cabinet costs, which they mentioned in an email, but we did not receive the actual documentation for that. The assessor determined that the costs provided by the applicant were not considered typical market costs. Typically, homeowners looking to build a primary residence have to hire a general contractor and have to pay all the costs associated with hiring a general contractor, including profit. The cost manual that the assessor has relied on does incorporate all the typical market costs associated with bringing a property to its finished state. The subject is located in a gated community around a golf course. And for the appraisal that was prepared for January 1st, 2019, the comparables that the assessor relied on all came from the same neighborhood as the subject property. So if you turn to page 4, you'll see this is the exterior photo that I took as I drove by the property. This helped me to better determine the quality of the home, although many of the criteria for determining quality occur inside the home as far as finishes and that sort of thing. So like I said before, I did have to make many assumptions since we were not allowed a site inspection of the property. Turning to page 5, this is a breakdown of my costs. And you'll see that I have my dollars per square foot and the source here.
And I'm sorry, Council, if I can just inquire, because I've never gone through this process, I know we have an opportunity to object. I don't know if we make those objections at this time, or is it at the conclusion of their presentation?
Typically what happens is whoever has the burden of proof, they will present their case first. And then when they're done with their side, you can ask questions, and then you'll present your side, and they'll ask questions, and then it'll be closing argument time.
Okay, but if there's an objection to the evidence that's being presented, we save that for when we're making our side?
You can object, yeah. You can object whenever you feel appropriate, yeah.
All right. Well, then my understanding of the rules is that Rule 1606 is the information that is being relied upon needs to be provided to us at our request, which we did request 15 days prior to the hearing. And I'm not sure much of the information that they're relying on their presentation was provided to us. I don't believe it was.
I would like to add that the only document that the assessor provided to us was page 5 on their package. Everything else was not provided to us. The first time that we see it is today, so it was not provided to us 15 days prior to today's hearing. And I would also like to note that our road is a private road, and we never authorized for the assessor to take a picture of page 4, which is our home. So I would object to all the evidence that is being presented, except for page 5, because it was not presented to us.
Can I ask some follow-up questions of the applicant?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of the written exchange of information?
Yes, I do.
Can you provide that to the board? Do you have enough copies for
Yes, I do. You can have it. It is the request for exchange of information, the first letter.
It's on the front?
Yes, it's on the front.
And do you have an additional 3 copies of this?
Yes, I do. I have more copies. And my husband specifically went to the assessor and dropped it off, and it specifically said, request for exchange of information.
Yeah, so we'll review this real quick.
What page is the letter?
The first page.
First page, okay, perfect, all right.
Is this applicant's exhibit 1?
Yes, this is applicant's exhibit 1. Now, one thing for a 1606 request to be legally binding, a copy must be mailed to the clerk of the appeals board. My records do not show we received this request. Is it correct that you did not include this request to the clerk of the board?
I believe it was dropped off, and it was,
The clerk of the board, is that on the 4th floor here?
That's correct.
I know that's where I dropped it off.
Okay.
it was,
And, because this letter isn't addressed to the clerk of the board, it's addressed to Mr. Phillips.
I believe I attempted to take it to the assessor's office, and I was told that it needed to go up to the 4th floor.
Has the assessor received this and have a date stamp on it? Because I don't have it in my records, so.
The assessor is of the opinion that there is no valid 1606 that meets the requirements that Mr. Vlahakis has stated, that it be mailed to both the applicant, to the assessor and the clerk of the board. We have no record that it went up to the clerk of the board. There is a letter.
And assessor has a date stamp on that that does not include the clerk of the board's date stamp, is that correct?
Let me double check here.
I just want to be absolutely certain that when I say I don't have it in my records, I for some reason didn't receive it.
No, there is no indication that it was provided to the clerk of the board, and there is no date stamp from the clerk of the board on this letter.
I'm just double checking my records. And it's correct, you did not submit it by US mail, you submitted it by hand delivery or via personal delivery and email, correct?
correct. I would have to look at my records to see if it was sent via US mail, but I can't remember at the moment.
Okay.
I will just point out that it states on the top of the letter you submitted, sent via personal delivery and email.
All right. So just for the board's record, it doesn't appear it was mailed to the clerk of the board. So I will submit that. I don't think it'd be the clerk of the board's position that the request is not binding because it was not sent by US mail to the clerk of the board as the statute requires. Further, I'm not sure this letter, had it been mailed, even meets the minimum requirements of the statute. I'll leave that up to your board to decide on that objection.
So it says a bona fide.
Brendan?
Yes, ma'am.
Typically, when a 1606 formal exchange of information is done between the parties, it's usually initiated by the assessor's office.
No, in my professional experience, the assessor almost never initiates an exchange of information. As far as the formal sense, maybe what you're referring to is there's a one-sided request for information that the assessor has, which is section 441D. which is what the assessor initiates in every single case.
Right.
Where the applicant is required to provide the assessor with information, and the assessor doesn't have to provide anything back unless a 408 request is made. And those are very rarely made, and usually typically initiated by the assessor. 1606, because there's such a high bar of minimum requirements you have to meet for it to be valid, are almost, they're very, 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 very rarely initiated to begin with, and typically when they are, they're done by applicants.
Okay. And is there a form for the applicant to use?
No, but the statute does lay it out. I'm going to try to pull it up right now. It's Revenue and Taxation Code 1606, and it lists the requirements. See if I can get this up on this.
For the board's edification, the statute, which I have in front of me, reads that an applicant for a change of an assessment on the local roll may initiate an exchange of information with the other party by submitting the following data to the other party and the clerk in writing. And then it goes on in terms of the method of delivery. It talks about it can, for purposes of determining the date upon which the exchange was deemed initiated, the date of the postmark as affixed by the United States Postal Service, or the date certified by a bona fide private courier service on the envelope or package containing the information shall control.
And is that verbiage anywhere in our typical county handout regarding procedures?
I do not recall offhand. I think our brochure might make some mention of it. The state goes into it in a little more detail in the Residential Property Assessment Appeals publication. But in general, in my experience, how most people learn about the requirement is they'll submit to the clerk of the board a lacking request, and then I will direct them to the statute that we see here on the screen that gives them the detail. So what's applicable in this case is subsection D, when the opinion of value is supported by evidence of replacement costs, including information, they have to provide data construction, type of construction, replacement costs, obsolescence, allowance for extraordinary use and equipment, and depreciated allowances. Your board may find they met that. I guess what is really is if it was properly initiated and sent to the clerk of the board or not, which would make it binding.
If I could, the assessor objects to the contents of this letter as meeting the criteria for 1606, as well as the delivery method. It's not just one, it's both. There's also more guidance in Property Tax Rule 305.1.
Okay, one more question, if I may. Good. Assuming we right now bypass the delivery method, what is the remedy for not responding to the 1606?
So long as it wasn't intentional, I believe the applicant can request a continuance.
Okay.
Let's see. So here's subsection D. Whenever information has been exchanged pursuant to this subsection, parties may not introduce evidence on matters not exchanged unless the other party consents to introduction. However, at the hearing, each party may introduce new material relating to the information received from the other party. If a party introduces new material at the hearing, the other party, upon his or her request, shall be granted a continuance for a reasonable period of time.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if those last two sentences must be read together or separately. I would defer to your county counsel on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Can I add one more comment? The objection stands, but as a matter of practicality, the assessor has provided our costs that we used, and we have provided them our comps. We object to their submission of this document and calling it a 1606. We don't believe it meets the legal definition, but we have provided them the information that we're going to present today.
When did you provide this?
Mr. Phillips will have to answer that one.
So the cost that you see on my page 5, that was given via email on November 22nd, 2019. And then the comps that I'm using in my appraisal for January 1st, 2019, I provided in an email on December 5th, 2019. And I have the emails here if you would like a reference.
And I would like to respond that the email only contained a list of 3 separate properties. It did not contain all the information that is being presented to us for the first time. So the only 2 documents that would produce to us prior to today's hearing was page number 5 alone and an email dated December 5th with 3 pieces of property.
So the information that was provided to you was provided in a similar fashion as the information you provided to me. I believe you, for your comparable sales, you only listed 1 sale. So I responded in a likewise manner.
To get back to the 1606 issue, the format and the amount of data you provided for the comparables in your letter do not meet the minimum requirements of 1606 or Property Tax Rule 305.1. If you wanted more information, we would have been happy to provide that to you.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
If I may, a question to council?
Sure.
If at any time during a hearing, the applicant feels that they haven't had time to do their due diligence on information supplied, can the applicant ask for a continuance during a hearing? I've never asked this question before.
If they could show good cause for, I mean, certainly applicants have, or the assessor have requested continuances during a hearing before, if there is good cause to do so.
Okay.
So it's not not allowed.
Okay.
But there would, need to be a good cause showing.
Okay, that, to the chair, that might be a remedy for us, regardless of the 1606, to allow the applicant to review the information, adequate time.
Okay, I mean, it seems fair to me. I mean, they did make a request, although it wasn't 100% proper. They did show intent. And they did mail it to the right people, that it wasn't complete in its entirety, it sounds like. Go ahead.
If I can, I don't think there was any bad faith on either party's part. Perhaps we didn't properly mail the letter to get the information. We're okay with just proceeding. If you want to just rule on the objection, if it's overruled, it's overruled, and let's go ahead and proceed. I don't think we need to continue this matter.
Okay.
So we just proceed. And the second thing I needed to say is, I have a meeting at 12:15 that I cannot get out of, so I need to be there.
Okay.
But Mrs. Romero is more than capable of proceeding in
Okay.
my absence.
Okay. So should we just overrule?
Yes.
That's fine.
Okay, and
Okay.
Council, do we need a vote on that?
On the objection, no, I don't think.
No? Okay, overruled.
Should we take our lunch break now to allow the applicant?
Do we want to take a lunch break now and you have a chance to review some of the data that they just gave you? Would that be
His
adequate?
appointment, he has an appointment.
Well, he has an appointment, but we can also give her a lunch break.
Right, right.
Would that be acceptable?
I'm fine with the information that we have submitted, so it'll be fine.
Okay. Do we want to take a break for lunch right now? Do you want to have some time to review what they handed over, or do we want to?
I don't think so. I think we can go ahead and proceed.
Okay. Okay, then we'll just proceed. Okay, all right. Assessor's Office, I believe you were mid-presentation.
Okay. Yes, so I believe I was on page 5. These are my costs that I use to value the property. And then the following pages, I've highlighted where I'm getting those from our cost guides here. So that'll take us to page 10, or I'm sorry, page 12. And like I said, these cost guides include all the typical costs associated with bringing a property, a new construction to completion. Starting on page 13, these were the plans submitted to our office from Building and Safety. And this is another source of information I had in order to determine the value of the new construction and the quality of the subject. So you can look through those as well. These are 3 pages here. First page is a plot map. The next page is the first floor, and the last page is the second floor. Starting on page 17, I just kind of took all the information that the applicant had provided us and put it on a spreadsheet to tally it up just so I can see what the total came out to. We did have a different total. I think mine was 708,500 there, and the applicant had a different total on the information she provided. And if you notice at the bottom, I did show that we were missing built-in cabinets, interior trim and finish, missing built-in appliances and equipment, finished floors, and the general contractor costs there. On page 19, I just wanted to include kind of an example, although I'm sure the applicant will provide this as well, of the information that was provided to us. So in the next few pages, these are the electrical costs that were provided to us. The reason why I wanted to show these is I did ask her about lighting costs because I didn't see that in her breakdown. And she had said that these costs were included in the electrical costs that she provided. So I just wanted to give an example of the type of costs that were provided to us and how it's hard to determine exactly what these costs are referencing other than in general electrical. So that'll take us through to page 27. Those are all the electrical costs that I was provided. On my final page, I'm sorry, not my final page, page 28, I have my appraisal for the January 1st, 2019 evaluation date. The grand total that we have for the land and improvements as of the date of new construction, let's see here, was $1,654,332. If you look at my 3 comps, that total fits in line with the unadjusted sales prices as well as falls towards the very bottom of the adjusted sales price range. So I determined that the cost approach seemed to be a valid indicator of value for the subject property. The the total Prop 13 value of the subject fell right in line with the comparables. And because the combined Prop 13 value fell at the very bottom of my range of comps, I did not determine that a reduction was warranted for the subject property as of January 1st, 2019. The following pages are pictures of my comparables from the listings, as well as I did take some drive-by photos as well, so those could be in there as well. And then the last two pages are those rules that I mentioned previously. So, in conclusion, the assessor has determined that the fair market value for new construction of the single-family residence is $1,121,000. The new factored base year value as of January 1st, 2019 is $1,643,532, which falls below the range of comparable properties. The assessor's office recommends to the board that they enroll $1,121,000 as the fair market value for the completed new construction on November 8th, 2018, and enroll $1,643,532 as the factored base value as of January 1st, 2019, lien date. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions of the assessor's presentation?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Not of the assessor, no.
Okay, I think we're all done with questions for now. If you want to go ahead and present your side.
I would like to basically review my letter dated November 7th that was submitted to the assessor. In the letter, we make reference to
Excuse me, what page are you on?
page number 2.
Number 2.
We make reference to 5047 Northridge Drive, which is a home that is about 10 houses further up our home. This home was sold on February 1st for $1.25. This house is very similar in style to our home. This home is larger. It's 6,786 square feet. Our home is about 5,500. This home at 5047 has a pool. Our home does not have a pool. It also has 5 bedrooms and our home has 4 bedrooms. And this home also has ocean views. Our home does not have ocean views. This is a comparable home to ours and valued at $1.25. The homes that the assessor addressed, there's a home on 4300 Skywalker. That home is 2.73 acres. Our home is only 1.1. That home is 6,400 square feet, which is about 1,000 square feet larger. That home has a guest house, an art studio, gym, maid quarters. Our home does not have any of that. The assessor also makes reference to another home at 4763 Northridge, but that home is 5,778 square feet. The lot is larger. It's 1.23. It has 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. It has a pool, and it has a spa. And our home does not have a pool or a spa, or 6 bathrooms. And the lot is 1.18. There's another home that the assessor references, and that's 4875. That home is higher up. I'm sorry, it's 4875. It's higher up our home. It's about 5 houses above our home, and that home has ocean views. Our home does not have ocean views. And that home, if I remember correctly, was sold for $1.640. With regards to the construction cost, I itemized all the cost, and the framing specifically, the assessor miscalculates and comes up with a total of about $200,022,354. However, the correct total is $69,475. I would like to review the numbers for the framing so that there's no misunderstanding as to the cost of that, since I can understand how there could be a misunderstanding and a miscalculation because of the amount of documents that we submitted. But the framing, which is on Exhibit 7 of our documents,
On page,
it's Exhibit 7. It's not numbered.
okay,
I'm sorry.
okay, I see, okay.
So I would like to just review the numbers that should be added for framing to make it easier on the board and the assessor. The first number is I'm sorry, I would like to correct the mistake. The total for framing is $164,479. And the assessor added up $222,354. That was my mistake. So the $164,479 includes labor and material. And the first number is for material in the amount of $95,004.11. The next number is $20,475. Next, $11,700. The next number is $5,850. Then we have $1,350, $3,950, $11,700, $2,850, $1,200, $1,050. The next number is $5,850 and $3,500, and that should total to $164,479. The other number that I believe the assessor miscalculated was the plumbing, and that's on Exhibit 6. And the numbers that should be added there are $6,000, $5,000, $5,000, $4,800, $4,340.97 for material. The other numbers were for labor, for a total of $25,100 $38,040.97, and the assessor had $38,040. The total cost of construction was approximately, with the cabinets and flooring, was approximately $667,599.59, with the base value of the property itself at $522,532, for a total value of $1.190,131.59, which is in line with the home that was sold on February 1st, 2018 at 5047 Northridge Drive for $1.25. I know the assessor addresses Rule 6, or is it property tax rule? But I don't believe that rule applies in this case. I think that the relevant rules are the taxation code, section 1606 AD and 441 D1. So I would respectfully ask if the board would assess our property at $1.190,331.59.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the assessor's office?
Yes. Regarding your comparable that you used, 5047 Northridge Drive, do you recall the email that I sent you on December 5th, 2019, describing why I did not use that comp, or that it wasn't a comp at all?
Can you explain?
So I sent you an email on December 5th, 2019, explaining that wasn't a sale of that subject. That was appears to be some sort of mix-up on the listings. Do you recall that or no?
I do remember that, yes.
Okay, but you still want to provide that as a comparable, even though it did not sell?
I would provide it, but then I would also compare the other properties that you produced, which is 4875, 4300, and 4763.
So just to clarify, you are aware that there was no transfer of 5047 Northridge on February 1st of 2018. You understand that did not happen?
I don't have any knowledge of it not happening. My understanding is that there was a sale. So I have not seen any documentation that there was no sale.
Okay. If I could just point out, the assessor's records do not reflect that there was any transaction on that date whatsoever. There was no transfer for that property on February 1st, 2018. In fact, there hasn't been a transfer of that property since 2009.
Okay.
Any more questions?
No more.
Any questions from the board?
You acted as your own contractor?
Initially, we consulted with a general contractor, and it didn't work out, and we proceeded with being owner-builder.
Do you know that under property tax rules that has to be included, the general cost of having a general contractor on a project, that's part of the property tax rules that for equalization purposes, that has to be included?
I came across some information related to that, yes. And, yeah.
Okay. Do you have an appraisal on the property at all?
No, we don't.
You don't have an appraisal, okay. If you were to sell your property, would you sell it for the 1.1 that you're suggesting it's worth, or would you sell it for 1.6 or maybe 1.8 like the assessor thinks it's worth?
I do not know at the moment.
Okay. Any other questions?
I can't think of anything.
I have none.
No.
Okay, time for closing arguments. I believe they go first. Yep. Okay, you can present your closing arguments first.
Based on, we have the market value analysis, and then we have the construction cost analysis. I believe that the construction cost analysis is most favorable to us, and would ask if the board could consider that number and assess our property at 1.190331.59.
Okay, thank you. All right, assessor's office.
The way the law is written, it's not written for what is most favorable. It is written based on the full value or the market value at the time of completion. If you look on my page 2, Revenue and Taxation Code Section 71 states this for new construction. As we previously mentioned, the comparable that the applicant provided, that was not a transfer of ownership of the subject property. In my emails that I, with the applicant, I explained that our office shows no change of ownership for that property. I explained that the confusion for this, I believed, was that the owners of that property bought a different house, which was 6974 Kaidia for $1,025,000. And on the grant deed, the 5047 North Ridge Drive was listed as the mailing address. So I believe the listings online somehow got this mixed up. And the property that they purchased for $1,025,000 is not anywhere near the subject property, or is it considered comparable in any way? So that's the reason I didn't use that one, is because it actually didn't transfer ownership. And the other thing I wanted to mention, if you turn to my page 17 and 18, where I have a breakdown of the costs, I went through every single page that the applicant provided, and I just put it all on an Excel spreadsheet. And this is how I calculated the costs that she had provided. So if you go through her documentation, all these items should correspond to pages out of everything she's provided. So I didn't omit or include anything that she didn't have in her documents provided to us. So with that said, based on our cost guides, which include typical costs, we determined that the fair market value for the newly completed single-family residence was $1,121,000, and that the factored base year value of $1,643,532 falls at the very bottom of my range of comparables and should be enrolled as of January 1st, 2019. And that concludes my presentation.
I would like to, may I respond?
Yes.
I did.
It's typically not,
oh,
it's
sorry.
past the time for you to respond, but if you want to make a quick comment, I guess we can allow it.
I'm okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We are going to take this behind closed doors, and we'll deliberate behind closed doors, and we'll have a decision for you this afternoon, and Brandon will inform you of our decision.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Before we close the record, can I ask the clerk one question? As far as confidentiality on any of the information that we have here, I know something was mentioned about the photograph of the house. I know we usually have trade secrets can be redacted or removed. Is there any format that we can use to redact
The
anything?
exhibits shouldn't be public, right?
Everything that comes before this board is public
Oh,
record.
the exhibits, okay.
Every single thing, unless an affidavit to a trade secret is signed. I don't believe a photograph of the subject property can be considered a secret. I haven't run across anything mentioned. I defer to county council,
It
but
would
I
not
don't
meet
think.
the definition of a trade secret. It would not.
Right, and I'm not aware of any provision that would allow us to make this, any part of this written record private.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Are we all set? I think we're done for the day. We're adjourned.